Week 4. Breathing life, finalizing, and presenting the character. Our creation is nearly complete. This week, we bring everything together, ensuring that our character is more than just a figure. It is a story waiting to be told. Lesson 14. The final pose, composition, and presentation. How do you want your character to be remembered? Standing in defiance, in quiet contemplation? The final pose is the last chapter of your creation story. Exercise. Refine the sculpt into a final dynamic pose.
Hey everyone, I just want to talk a little bit about the surface texture of our model. So if you have a really rough model with details that you want to smooth out, you can use a little bit of a mesh like this, metal mesh of any kind, and just take away some of the material while smoothing the surface out. This is a polymer clay reusable one. It's an Italian clay. Here's a little bit of canvas, a piece of canvas. And maybe if they press it hard enough onto the surface of the sculpture, yeah, you can see some of that texture is left behind. So you can play with this idea. Find different materials that you can ingrain their textures onto your model. This is our super sculpting. If you use this material, you can harden it with heat. Just so you know, that's another option. I'll go into materials in depth in another video. But these days, I use air dry clay a lot more. So I'm gonna make another sculpt inspired by the sculpt we've done together with air dry clay. And I'm gonna use that for our surface finishing lesson. Hey everyone, I'm sculpting another character using an air dry clay. With this character, I'm taking a lot more artistic freedom. I designed him to be very fluid, very gestural. It's very similar to the character we made together in terms of the relaxed posture. However, with this one, as I'm adding clay, I'm being very conscious about what areas I want to keep thin and what areas I want to thicken. And that's really the thing about designing and character. Once you know the general framework of the body, you can start having fun by taking some mass away from certain areas by adding more mass to others. With this character, I started adding clay onto the spine as I usually do, as it's a stronghold of the body that connects the arms and the legs and the head. And then I slowly expand it out to the thighs and the shoulders. And now I'm going to add more clay to the arms and the legs. I'm not going to go into certain details like the hands at the feet or the head. I'm going to keep it very loose and very gestural. Even when I was creating the wireframe, I made a continuous curve for the arms and the shoulders to enhance that gestural landmark, the curvature of both arms, and then the straightness of the body and the legs. And there's certainly a lot more curve in the spine from a side angle, which is my design for the character. So yeah, at this stage, once you know the general framework of the body, it's really fun to start playing with certain elements and create a very unique character of your own. But in the beginning, it's important to follow references as we have done. I'm going to finish out this character for our painting session. I'm refining the surface texture of my sculpture with every tool at my disposal. This air-dry clay has a texture reminiscent of finely crafted paper mache, smooth yet slightly porous. It hardens naturally at room temperature and can be painted with any medium, offering great versatility. Since water reactivates the clay, I'm using that property to my advantage. Though my sculpture is fully dry, water and a no toothbrush allow me to soften and smooth just the surface. I also use a brush and my fingernail when needed, carefully removing material and pressing it back into crevices. Texture is always a choice. While I prefer a smoother finish, I leave a touch of roughness for artistic expression.
Lesson 15. Pinning decoration. Color and surface finishing. Color brings warmth, depth, and life. Whether pale and ghostly or rich and vibrant, the final paintwork defines the world your character belongs to. Exercise. Apply a base color wash followed by shading and highlights to enhance depth. Now, I'm painting the new model we sculpted together. I've chosen a limited palette of yellow, purple, and pinks. In the past, I've only used oil paint for my models, but today I'm working with acrylics for the fast drying time. A quick tip: acrylics dry quickly, so be sure to spray your palette with water periodically to keep the paint from drying out. If you want a glossy and vibrant finish, start by applying a base coat of gesso or white acrylic paint. This helps seal the clay, preventing it from reactivating with water and creating a smooth surface for painting. I'm using neon, fluorescent, or satin colors, definitely bold and beautiful. You might also want to consider whether you prefer a matte or glossy finish. You can even experiment by adding color pigments or glitter to the wet paint for extra texture and shine. Once the paint is dry, you can apply a protective layer like a spray varnish, a medium, or a finishing varnish. Each has its own finish, so be sure to choose one that matches your paint type, whether acrylic or oil. I actually forgot that I had yellow in my palette and ended up using it over the pink and purple bodice only after the first layer dried. This created a semi-transparent effect, layering the yellow over the other colors in a way that looked really interesting, so I decided to keep it. Hope this gives you some ideas for your own projects. Have fun experimenting! Final lesson: the story lives on, showcasing and reflecting. Every creation is part of a larger story. Who is your character? What journey have they taken? What tale do they have yet to tell? Exercise: write a brief backstory or character summary, presenting the finished sculpture alongside the initial sketches. I created some small thumbnail character paintings based on our finished model. While we originally began with painting before moving into sculpting, and have continued using both methods throughout the process. Designing is never a linear journey. Sometimes you start by sketching ideas, while other times you dive straight into materials and then return to drawing and painting to refine and iterate. Every stage can be a fresh starting point, and past ideas can always be reshaped into new designs. This is what excites me about art and design, the fluidity of the process. Every tool we've explored together is now part of your creative toolbox, ready for you to use in whatever way inspires you. Instead of writing a reflection, I was inspired to write a short poem about my character instead. Enjoy! Paperweight, paper thin, flowing with the wind. I know your name is not Hope, for Hope was once my friend, and he looked different from you. So I follow you into autumn to ask for your name. You have done what only creators can. You have breathed life into imagination, shaped something from nothing. Your character is complete, but this is only the beginning. Keep drawing, keep sculpting, and keep telling stories through form. The world you build is waiting.